Universalist congregation with no geographical boundaries. We believe in cultivating curiosity and transformation that is rooted in profound love. The COVID-19 pandemic has irrevocably shaped how connections are formed in congregations across the United States and the world. The Church of the Larger Fellowship is committed to being a resource within Unitarian Universalism and beyond. From worship to covenant groups, from classes to pastoral care, and from our monthly magazine Quest to our online community hub and our letter writing ministry, we have found ways to build connection and community even through the screen. We have been a model for ministry on the margins, providing services for isolated Unitarian Universalists, becoming a spiritual lifeline for our members in prison. The CLF supports the ministries of those who hold target identities: Blue, Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism; Trust, Transgender Religious UU Professionals Together; and Drum, Diverse Revolutionary Unitarian Universalist Multicultural Ministries, just to name a few. We know better than anyone how deep and meaningful connections can be formed, even from a distance. Unitarian Universalists have faced many challenges in these times, and we continue to persevere and fight for justice and equity for all people, especially during moments of crisis. We are proud to be a leader in this faith movement, and we invite you to get involved in our ministry. We strive to be a place where anyone from anywhere can find spiritual refuge anytime they need it. Welcome to the Church of the Larger Fellowship. We are so excited to bring you an all-new episode of The VUU. The VUU is a weekly Unitarian Universalist talk show discussing important faith-based topics from an anti-racist, anti-oppressive, and multicultural perspective. Every Thursday for the past 7 years, we have welcomed guests from every corner of the world. Our guests are writers, scholars, activists, and religious thought leaders who are shaping Unitarian Universalism and society for the 21st century and beyond. I hope today's show inspires you. Hope it builds your faith. Hope it gives you perspective to see the power of Unitarian Universalism at work in your life. Enjoy the message.
Welcome to a new season of The VUU. Hello, everyone. We are so glad that you are here. Yay! This is VUU season, oh my gosh, I'm 12. It says right here in the show notes that it is season 12. I am Christina Rivera, she, her pronouns, and I'm 1/3 of the lead ministry team here at the Church of the Larger Fellowship. I am coming to you from beautiful Central Virginia, where the weather has just changed, like from yesterday to today into fall or something, and it is like totally fucking with my central nervous system or something like that, because it's just, yeah, all of the things are activated. But it is gorgeous outside. I will give it that. Michael Tino, how are you doing?
Greetings, everyone. Michael Tino here. The second third of the lead ministry team of the Church of the Larger Fellowship, coming to you from Peekskill, New York, in the Hudson Valley of New York, where, yes, summer is yielding to fall, and the change of the seasons has brought on those couple of weeks a year that no amount of rheumatoid arthritis medications can reduce the inflammation of. It is what it is. It's a couple weeks every year, and I'll do my best to get through them. School has started here finally. School started. New York is one of the last places where school starts. Y'all who are in like the southern United States are like, wait a minute, school for a month and a half. I'm like, well, in New York, in New York State, other than New York City, school started on Tuesday. And in New York City, school starts today. So the child is at school. You hear that? It's a beautiful thing because my beloved child craves structure, and school gives that to her. Aisha Hauser, how are you?
Hi, I'm Aisha Hauser, and my pronouns are she and her, and I come to you from the land of the Coast Salish people, also known as Seattle. So I did have half my thyroid taken out, which is why my cursing will sound hoarse because my vocal cords will be recovering for I don't know when the next for until they decide they want to come back to my regular voice. So we'll talk about that later. DC, how are? Oh, I'm in. Did I say where I am? Seattle. I don't know if I said I'm in Seattle. I don't know what's going on. DC, how are you? And I'm third. I think when my thyroid came out, I needed a lot more naps than I realized. So I am third of the lead ministry team of this amazing team at this amazing institution, the Church of Larger Fellowship, DC.
Hi, I am the lowly volunteer here. On the host of the VUU, and that's okay. I'm glad to be here, and it's a fun part of my week. I am DC Fortune, pronouns he, him, and I am coming to you from the land of the Susquehannock people in central Pennsylvania, where it is a sunny 70-something. We're in that, like, I don't have rheumatoid arthritis, but I do have sinuses. And the changing of that first frost that happens and stuff starts to wilt, and then there's, I don't know whether it's pollen or mold or what, but yeah, it's happening here. But it's sunny and nice and not raining and cold, so I'll take it. But yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to see everybody. And Aisha, I love the sort of Marlena Dietrich gravelly, awesome, sexy voice. That's really kind of fun. So
I can't project. I tried to, like, you know how I, like, you sing in your car. So I said to my doctor at my post-op, I'm like, I can't sing. I can't do karaoke. He's like, well, you couldn't before. Why am I getting roasted by my fucking doctor?
Damn!
Ooh, did you pay extra for that burn?
What?
That's worse than don't do that. When you tell the doctor that something hurts, stop doing it that way. Really?
What?
Ooh.
They just have to know that by whatever conference that we are in time for, that you have to be able to yell across, an entire convention center to a friend. You have to be able to yell their name out and be heard. So,
do that right now. So yes, I feel it.
No one will believe. No one will believe you're at General Assembly if they don't.
Right.
So you have until June. Yeah.
I have to more. Yeah.
Is it even a General Assembly if Aisha hasn't yelled your name across the convention center?
I'm working on it. Hi, Coco. With a striped pajama. What is happening? Coco, what are you wearing? Oh my God, no. Absolutely
it's a onesie.
not.
It's a striped onesie. That's awesome.
Coco got
striped onesie.
Coco got fixed, and instead of the cone of shame,
that's
you can
great.
put them in a onesie that
Oh,
protects the site, and they can't chew at it or lick it or do any of the things. So as long as she's chill in this, she does not have to wear a cone of shame.
So no dog in a martini glass then. That's what they always look like with the cone of shame.
Ew. She looked like she was trying to get satellite reception. It was adorable, but she was not happy in it at all.
I have never known a pet to like those things.
No, she just did.
I did. I knew a dog that
shame on for a while.
Oh, Gracie,
I knew a dog that liked it.
Yeah.
Because they lived with a bunch of other dogs, and dinner time was a sort of a competitive thing. But the dog with the cone would just put her cone down, clunk, and it was just her and her bowl. Nobody else could get there. it was quiet in her little cone and she got all of her kibble. She didn't have to share. She loved it.
Oh no, Gracie thought I was I swear she's human. She would not look at me. She was like, I hate you, and you know I hate you. And until you take this shit off, I'm gonna pretend you don't exist. It's actually pretty comical. And then I got her and then I posted on Facebook. So Amanda Thomas suggested I get her
The pillow thing?
A donut.
A donut. So I got her the donut. I mean, she didn't love it, but it wasn't, I mean, it was a lot softer on her neck and she was fine.
And then people started posting their favorite donuts that they thought that Gracie should have. I posted the cow donut because we teased Gracie that
they
she's
ran out. I wanted that one. It
know.
was sold out. That was definitely, I was going to get her that one. But so the second best was the Pride donut. I got her rainbows.
Yep.
So
the things we do.
So folks out there in Viewland, we are super excited to be starting season 12. At some point, we have to change that intro that says we've been at this for 7 years because this is season 12. It is what it is. You know what? We've been doing the same thing, inviting interesting, thought-provoking guests and having deep and meaningful and important and authentic conversations for 12 years. And we're still doing that. But we're excited to be starting season 12. Check in on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you are. And hopefully I'll be able to see the comments that you post. I'm doing tech today because our broadcast producer, LJ Williams, has a class and her seminary did not reschedule the class because it was opposite the VUU. So she'll be back. They'll be back after the class is over, and that's really great.
Hey, and any seminaries out there who would like to sponsor the VUU and have the VUU be a class, what could that be like?
You know, I was recently reviewing. So among my hats, I serve on our denomination's ministerial fellowship committee, as does DC, and that's the committee that admits ministers to right relationship with our association. And we have just revamped the way we do the reading list, and I put that in big scare quotes for those of you who are listening to the audio podcast. There's no longer a checkbox of books that people have to read when they're preparing for the ministry. They need to list the educational resources they used in each competency. And so rather than giving people a list, we ask you, what did you use? What did you read? What did you watch? What did you experience? How did you learn about this competency? And the people who developed this system for us developed sample lists for each competency, because there are people out there, and I know if you're one of those people, I love you. DC is one of those people for whom just tell us what you've read is too big an assignment, and who need who need a list. So there are sample lists, and I was perusing the sample lists recently, and there are several episodes of The VUU in those sample lists, and it made me feel so proud that we have created lasting resources that are being pointed to as things that can train religious professionals for competency in ministry. It just made me feel proud.
Speaking of which, 4 episodes this season leading up to the election, we will be working with UU the Vote. I've been talking to them all summer, so we will have informative, resource-filled. We're going to empower folks in this election to vote with their values, UU values. So UU the Vote, starting next week. The dates are actually all currently on our CLF Facebook page. But 2 dates in September and 2 dates in October. We will be talking with folks at UU the Vote. So pretty exciting stuff.
And we're working
Among
on
other stuff.
booking other guests
Yes.
for this year, for this fall and spring, winter and spring. We're glad to be back. So we called this the summer roundup. We put 2 U's in summer because we're nerdy like that.
Not like any news has happened since we last spoke.
I mean, the world has fallen apart, but like, what have you done on your summer VUU hiatus?
Who wants to start? I had a full summer, so I don't have to go first. Or I can. So I went to England and Ireland. I went to Belfast. I'll be preaching about my trip to Belfast and the political murals, which for the first time in the history of the city of Belfast, one entire street is dedicated to one political cause, and that's Gaza. So the sermon is called From Belfast to Gaza, and I talk about how fiercely loyal and consistent and clear the Irish people have been in their support of the Palestinian people, and especially Gaza. Then I got COVID when I got back. Then I fractured my foot, and then I got surgery. But I'm really grateful because I feel good. I had my surgery is my first post-divorce like big thing. And when I tell you, my shout out to Reverend Deanna Vandiver and her partner, we're very close friends. She and her partner came here and stayed for about 5 days. And then my friend from Maryland flew out and stayed another week. So, and I had people visiting me. It was wild. And it really reminded me of what we always preach here, to build community, to have community. One of the biggest lies that modern society tells us is that everything is about the nuclear family. And no, look, I had a nuclear family, no shade to the nuclear family. And we need community, and community has many iterations, many people. So I was super, super, super grateful. And thank you, CLF. Y'all sent me a DoorDash certificate, which was perfect. And side note, send that stuff instead of flowers. Not that I don't like flowers, but getting a meal I don't have to worry about was awesome. So I had although my sister. Okay, can I please tell you all about my mother? So my mother is an observant Muslim woman, immigrant like me, and she lives in DC. And she left me. There was a couple before my surgery, so maybe a week before my surgery. She left me 3 messages because I turned my phone off at night because all my East Coast beloveds forget that I live on the West Coast. So in order to not get 5 a.m. emails or texts that wake me up, I turn my phone off. So I wake up. There's 2 voice messages and 3 missed calls from my mother. This is unusual for her because she lives with my sister. So I call her. I'm like, Ma, is everything okay? She goes, listen, very serious. She goes, your sister won't let me talk about this, so you need to help me. I go, what's the matter? She goes, are you voting for Harris? I said, yes. She goes, go on Facebook and tell your friends to vote for Harris. I said, woman, is this why you left me 3? What is happening? She goes, your sister's bothering me. She's because my sister's a hardliner. Like, stop the war in Gaza, stop sending weapons, or I'm not voting for you. Like, she's clear. I mean, not that I should be giving away what my sister's about, but anyway. But I'm like, of course I'm voting for Harris. Okay, so we settle that. Then last week she calls me, Aisha, your sister won't help me. She said she's not my secretary or my husband. You have to help me. And I'm like, well, where is this going now?
red flag, Mom. Red flag.
You will not. If I give you 45 guesses, guess what she says next? She goes, listen, I need you to go on the net. That's what she calls the internet. I need you to go on the net and email Oprah and tell her to vote for Harris. The fuck? What is happening? Am I being punked? I go, Mom, first of all, like now I said, of course she's voting for Harris. And then I call my sister, and then my mother goes, she is? You made me so happy because I needed to tell Oprah. I call my sister. I go, what is wrong with you? Oprah spoke at the fucking DNC. How could you not just tell her that? What is wrong with you? She goes, she's annoying. You need to deal with her. Like, my poor sister. Hopefully she'll never see this.
What's the Egyptian way of saying bless her heart?
There's several, but it's like not quite the same, but it's like I don't even know because it's not quite bless your heart. You wouldn't say it even. It's like
Well, there are gradations.
no, I'd have to think about it.
It's
We're
not the
very colorful
dismissive
language,
way,
and it's
but
usually insulting. Because at least bless your heart sounds good, but we don't even have anything that's. It's like we're so aggressive. We're not passive aggressive. Like we have, may your descendants for 60 generations be cursed. Like we don't.
no, we don't need to curse our
our-
descendants.
I know.
Let's not curse your mother's descendants, please.
I know. It's crazy. Like me, like Yaini, like oh poor thing, Yaini, like you'd say oh poor thing. Anyway, it was very funny. So apparently, my mother thinks I don't know if she thinks I personally have Oprah's email or anybody can get Oprah's email. Anyway, that was
Oprah and
I
I
think
are tight.
just tell her Oprah watches The View, and we just told Oprah to vote for Harris.
That's right, Oprah.
one of my
appreciate
friends
your
said your mother's organizing in her own way. This is where I get my social justice from my mother. She is though. Get on Facebook and tell your friends to. She's hilarious. Anyway, that was my summer.
And your mother and your sister are engaged in the age-old battle of like how much harm reduction is enough harm reduction to warrant a vote, right?
100%.
So funny thing, this summer, I preached in July about aging. And there's a wonderful Dr. Seuss book called You're Only Old Once. And it's a lot of fun, and it's, iambic pentameter, and it's, sing-songy and a lot of fun. And I used it as a sort of, let's not throw somebody out because they're old kind of thing, but it wasn't a really vigorous endorsement. It was sort of a, like, this sucks, but okay, I'm going to be a loyal whatever. So on my way to the car that afternoon, NPR said, breaking news, President Joe Biden has just withdrawn from the race. And I'm like, the fuck? And the next time I was in the pulpit was the Sunday after the convention. And I was just like, so, been busy? Jesus. Oh, my word. And here I am. I am in central Pennsylvania, deep in Trump country. And, and like the 12 of us that are Democrats are like, okay, we need lawn signs, but I had one, but it doesn't work now. And
so DC, let me tell you where I was that week, because that week that
which week, the convention or the
week that President Biden announced he was not going to run for re-election, I was in Western Virginia.
Woo, baby.
Directing the Southeast Unitarian Universalist Summer Institute
the
as the emergency interim director. Not far from where Chris is, but Susie this year wound up at Radford University in Radford, Virginia, southwestern Virginia, on the I-81 corridor. It's beautiful there, and the folks at Radford were beyond lovely to us. And the day before I left home to drive down to Virginia, I get a text message from the conference's director at Radford that we need to have an emergency Zoom meeting. And I'm like, oh crap, what is this? Like, I can't handle this. Like, no more emergencies, no more changes, no more last minute things. Well, we had to have an emergency Zoom meeting with the vice president of the university to be briefed on the fact that J.D. Vance was doing his first rally post the RNC at Radford University while we were there. So there were 600 Unitarian Universalists at one end of the campus, and clear on the other side of the campus was what did I hear him refer to as hillbilly vanilly? Um,
No, I didn't hear that. Hillbilly Vanilli? Shut the fuck up. That's hilarious.
That is so good.
girl, you know it's true. So clear on the other side of campus was the Republican nominee for vice president, who has made an entire name for himself, misrepresenting the good people of Appalachia to the country. In Appalachian Western Virginia, and I had to find
Please
a way.
Please tell me he had like 12 people there.
He had a gym full of people. It was an
I mean,
entire
this is
gym.
Virginia. Come on.
And this was his first rally before like anyone had heard him talk.
Oh, right. Before they were like, oh, wow, this boy's stupid even for us. Okay.
Before the video of him before that rally calling the layout that the conference services people had put out for him and his people this pile of crap went viral. And I'm like, I had to somehow say to 600 Unitarian Universalists, I know that this is happening, beloved, and there are other ways that we can fortify ourselves spiritually to stop the evil that is happening in the world without going to that part of campus. without engaging with that. And like, let me tell you, you wouldn't on our half of the campus, you wouldn't have even known he was there. But that's where I was that weekend. It was fun.
Oh, sounds good. Good times. Sounds like good times, Michael.
And it was a successful conference. Susie happened successfully. The folks at Radford are just really the loveliest people. I mean, they work at a university. They're hardworking people, and like they had the Republican National Convention people abusing them on the other kind of side of campus. So like we were just entitled Unitarian Universalists. Like we were. It paled in comparison. It was.
That's a
Excuse
bar
me, do you
that
have
we
this
can,
in vegan
a bar
and
that we
gluten-free?
can hopefully set for ourselves that that we will always make.
Suddenly the request for vegan, gluten-free something isn't so bad as opposed to what was happening at the other end of things.
They were so totally okay with our honest requests for vegan, gluten-free somethings, because they wanted to make sure we were fed.
Nice.
Right? It's not the honest request like, hey, I have celiac disease. Can you help me get fed? They're like, they're about hospitality. Right? They want people to be fed while they're on campus. I know the dining hall closed at 7 and the staff can't go home until we're gone, but I'm in the middle of a conversation that's the kind of stuff that they shouldn't have to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
That Unitarian Universalists also do sometimes.
Exactly. My summer was just working, and we were at my home in PR during Hurricane Ernesto, and we did some mutual aid work through our connections there. So thank you everybody who contributed to that work. We were able to get gallons and gallons of fuel to people with generators and water and food and ice. Ice is super important if you've got medication that you need to keep cool. until the power comes back on if you don't have a generator. And, the folks that do have the generators are sharing, for other people to be able to charge their cell phones, to keep in touch with loved ones. And so, people are just doing community and taking care of one another. The power grid in Puerto Rico is still extremely fragile and will absolutely collapse one day if it is not overhauled. And there's different ideas about how that should happen and how it should look and all those kinds of things. So it just continues to be, a place that people take care of one another, because it's clear that their government isn't going to, and certainly their colonizer government of the U.S. is not going to. So, but it was a good summer. I mean, it was a good summer. It was hanging out with folks and talking CLF and Worthy Now Prison Ministry. I got to go to the Boston CLF office with where Beth Murray, our prison ministry administrator, and Sir LeBaire, our director of prison ministry, and we all got to meet there and talk about the shape of the program as it grows and gets bigger. And we just had a prison ministry meeting in which a new person who's going to be helping us with pastoral care was like, well, what kind of outreach are you doing to get more folks incarcerated to know about Unitarian Universalism? And we're like, we got 23 new members in the past 3 weeks without doing any outreach. So we're good. We're good for now, while we try and figure out a sustainable model to support this ministry.
God help us if we actually did outreach. Whew.
I know.
And so 23 new members brings us like somewhere around 1,840 incarcerated members.
I think we're under the 1850 mark now, but yeah.
And that brings us to the fact that CLF has just launched our fall fundraiser to support our Worthy Now prison ministry. There's a link in the show notes and on your screen, clfuu.org/fundhope. We hope that those of you who have some generosity to spare might use it to support our incarcerated members in the ministry that we do with them. We're almost at like a fifth of the way to our goal. But our goal is really a drop in the bucket of what it costs us to minimally staff the ministry that we provide. So if you're out there in VUU land and you have like some millions and you like really want to make a difference in a life-saving program, give us a call. Shoot us an email at leads@clfuu.org and we will be in touch.
Yes.
I think what we don't talk about enough, I think one of the reasons that folks who are incarcerated minister to each other and share the life affirming news that is Unitarian Universalism is that most chaplaincies are much more conservative and much more judgy and much more tied to, you have to believe insert book name here that was written thousands of years ago, or else, where we're like, hey, you are affirmed, amazing, and loved just as you are. So I think it speaks to many people everywhere, and I'd say especially those who are incarcerated. So
well, and let's be clear, in these days of the ascendance of Christian nationalism, most of the chaplaincy offered in our carceral state is fundamentalist Christian. It's not even like liberal Christian. It's not Jesus loves you Christian. It's You know, it's a particular stripe of fundamentalism that if you don't subscribe to, there's not anything for you. Chris?
Yeah, and it's a Christianity that says you deserve to be here. Something that you have done put you here,
Mm,
and the only way out of here, to not be living this life both now and in the afterlife, is through us, and is through the idea that you know, if you're LGBTQ or practicing a different type of faith or anything like that, this hell that you're experiencing here on earth will not only be the hell that you experience now, but it will be the hell that you experience for all of eternity. That is the message. It's not even
Right.
you'll be loved if you are this way. You know, it's the right in your face, just another form of trauma. And
Yeah.
so a message that says we love and accept you just the way you are, and here are other people who feel that way and are willing to listen to you, are willing to write to you, are pre-roll, our incarcerated pen pal waiting list right now is 6 months long. So even if you don't have that $1 million to share with us, if you have 20 minutes in a week to write to somebody, 20 minutes in a month to write to somebody, to write to a UU who is incarcerated, that too is stewarding Unitarian Universalism.
Yeah.
Right? So clfuu.org/pen pals will get you to our pen pal list. And you will immediately, as quick as we can process your application, be connected with an incarcerated UU who would love to hear that you went grocery shopping. Like, we're not looking for deep theological, philosophical conversations with our pen pals. If you want to have that conversation, do it for sure. Go for it. Awesome. But a lot of times people are like, I wouldn't know what to write. Literally anything that you did today would be a great thing to write to your pen pal about.
yes.
And you went to the grocery store, you went to the park, you went to work, you turned on the TV and were watching something. Sometimes people are like, well, I don't want to like emphasize, you know, that I'm being able to do all these great things. And the number one factor in people surviving incarceration, and when I say surviving, I mean surviving, not dying in incarceration. The number one factor in people surviving incarceration is a connection with someone, anyone on the outside.
Mm.
Do not need to be related to them, do not need to have a prior relationship with them. Tell them about your day. Tell them about your dog. Tell them about your kids, your grandkids, the flowers that you saw on your walk this morning, the graffiti that you saw on on a building, you know, as you're walking home, whatever. It is that connection that we are trying to foster. And somebody said that they just heard from their pen pal today, their incarcerated pen pal today. Yeah. And thank you so much to Community Church of New York, who is our new pen pal hub, with W2U's in the middle. Hub. They are a bricks and mortar congregation that is partnering with the CLF to help our pen pal connection flourish.
Huge.
And
Yeah.
I want to take a moment to sit in the theological malpractice that is the message that anyone, no matter what they have or have not done in their life, deserves to be traumatized and dehumanized and isolated daily.
Yeah.
Anyone, and that God has decreed that they deserve that. I mean, it's theological malpractice.
Well said.
It just, and it's pervasive in our society, right? It's pervasive because that it leaks out, right? Like we might say, well, that's not my theology, but like,
But is it our theology? I mean, I think it isn't, and yet sometimes that theological mispractice, even in Unitarian Universalism, we see, right? We see folks who see somebody who's formerly incarcerated and say,
well, they must have done something wrong to deserve it.
Why? How could they possibly be in prison for a decade without having done something wrong? Like, really? And the
exonerated 5.
Yeah, actually, just what TC says. Ask, the research that has gone on. Ask the folks that time and time again have gotten off of death row and have been shown to not have committed the crime that they were incarcerated for.
And the ones
it's even more insidious because here's the thing. Yes, there's that. I mean, our justice system is so fucked up that, how many people are being incarcerated and they haven't done anything. And DC, I don't know if you've been to the Legacy Museum in Montgomery, but one of the things, it is the museum that was, the impetus was Brian Stevenson's work, and a whole bunch of people and money and just was created this beautiful museum from slavery to mass incarceration. And one of the themes is no one should be judged by the worst thing they've ever done. So even, yes, they're innocent, but even if people who because society is broken, because we do not have universal health care in the United States. We don't have universal basic income. We don't have guaranteed housing. So then what we do have is for-profit fucking prisons. So there's a shit ton of incentive to incarcerate people instead of have some kind of rehabilitation or social safety net. So even if people did do whatever it is they were convicted of in our fucked up system and they serve time, when they get out, they absolutely 7,000 billion% need the opportunity to live as full citizens within our society. We don't go back after they've served time and then say, oh no, there's a reason why this person needs to blah blah because of their original crime 700 years ago. We are such a punitive fucking society, and it's in our DNA, and that's the part where I'm like, look, we have to stop being. There's a lot of things, a long list, but it's not just. It's in addition to that we have people who don't commit crimes who are incarcerated to fund the for-profit prison industrial complex. But even if people did the thing, at what point do we just punish them? Because then if you get me going, right? Like how do we turn toward each other instead of just continue this beating up of each other? And that's the thing. Why? So in Washington State, there's a program called the Freedom Project, and I have friends who were part of starting it, and it is, and I think it's only in Washington State. I know it was started here, but we have prisons in every state, but there's a few here that when folks who are incarcerated are released, that they get tangible support, help with finding a job. And the thing is, in our society, we say, oh, you just serve your time and then you come back in society. But employers are shit with that. They're like, oh no, you committed, they don't want to employ people who've been formerly incarcerated. Then what the fuck is our system for? So it's just trash all around. And I am so proud of the CLF that we are intentional in supporting folks where they are and say we will support and love each other and live prison abolition quite explicitly. So, yeah, there's my rant.
I was in Texas 2 weeks ago giving one of the Texas congregations made the CLF Worthy Now program their quarterly sponsor, Share the Plate sponsor. So I went out and gave a sermon there to accept that. But while I was there, I also did workshops. And one of the workshops that I did was the prison abolition workshop, and talked about the cognitive dissonance that is a Unitarian Universalism that preaches love and is centered and grounded in love and liberation, while understanding that the prison industrial complex is, quote unquote, feeding people on a budget of $2.02 a day. We all know it is impossible to nourish a human body in the US on $2.02 a day. And so the cognitive dissonance that we need to do in our minds in order to think that that is something that is okay is, well, they must have done something to deserve being there, right? Whatever it is that they did, they must have deserved. And even after they're released and supposedly have served their time, that devaluing of that human being allows us to continue treating them as less than. And so they don't deserve housing, they don't deserve employment, they don't deserve health care, they don't deserve something else. Like even after that, they still have to prove that they are deserving of humanity, right? Because we've done this cognitive dissonance thing in our minds to be able to sit with what the reality is.
Right. That's right. It's like, DC, your point that you made in the private chat. It's like a scarlet letter.
Yeah.
Well, because we are at heart, like, our public theology in this country, in the United States, is Puritan. Right? Like, that's our public theology, right? So it's crap. It's crap theology, people.
And if we say we're prison abolitionists, we got to reject that bullshit, because prison abolition is a holistic thought process. Yes, we end prisons, and we don't continue to punish people after they come out of prison.
Right. And we need to get curious. Like we talk about leading our faith with curiosity and questioning and not making assumptions that we understand everything from the outset. So you see something that you don't understand. Oh, wow, this decision got made. How the hell did that decision get made? Ask the folks who made that decision. There's no harm, no foul in asking. Maybe you'll learn something that you didn't know before. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's actually, a method. Maybe there's a practice of our faith that would give a new insight and lens into what our theology calls us to do, right? That mandate of liberation that I talk about, right? That we talk about. That as Unitarian Universalists, we have a theological mandate for liberation. It's not something we can opt out of and still call ourselves a Unitarian Universalist. You want to opt out of it, by all means, but then you can't be a UU, right? There's like, you don't get both. Yeah, I was just reading the chat. We feel strongly about it here at the CLF, and part of that is because the Worthy Now Prison Ministry is, such a large part of the Church of the Larger Fellowship, and our Free World members of the Church of the Larger Fellowship know that. They know what they've seen the voices of incarcerated UUs in their church, right? They've heard the voices of incarcerated UUs in their church. It is part of who we are at the CLF in ways that other congregations don't see and hear.
Without our Free World members' support, the prison ministry Worthy Now wouldn't be where it is. So it is directly due to the support of the CLF members and donors and supporters that the prison ministry, that Worthy Now, has been able to grow as much as it did. And so we need the support from every Unitarian Universalist, every abolitionist, even if you're not a UU, if you believe in restoration, in a transformative justice, and again, and are a prison abolitionist in all the ways that plays out in society and what it means for the world we want to dream about, support Worthy Now. I mean, we are being consistent prison abolitionists in how the C incarcerated, and again, very proud of us. So DC, what are your thoughts? Why don't you say them out loud? You've just been writing them in the chat.
Well, I've been writing that we got a new sign here at the UU congregation in the Susquehanna Valley, and it's one of those spiffy cool light up signs that you can program to say things and to show things. It's very exciting. We got it through grant money from the UU funding place, and then the Chalice Lighters grant. We had to raise some money anyway. So, but I've just been writing down things that I want to put up there, you know, and one of the things that two of the things I have here: no one should be judged by the worst thing they've ever done. Nobody deserves trauma. And I've been thinking how constant it is in our how not constant's not the right word, how it's everywhere in our culture that, you know, suffering, trauma, pain, whatever builds character. No, it doesn't. It doesn't build character. It gives you fucked up coping skills and poor trust and bad boundaries. That's what it does. But I can't quite put all of that on the sign.
But nobody deserves it.
Yes, nobody deserves.
It's really important trauma. To say to people,
nobody deserves to suffer. Nobody.
Yeah.
Right. So, I also learned that that I can't put. I mean, I could put all of these things up at once, but then it would take like a half hour to scroll through the playlist, and that's somewhat less than effective if we were trying to reach the 13,000 cars that drive by this place every day. So we have to. I'm learning about the scheduling feature. And the playlists. I can make playlists and then schedule them to do stuff, which is kind of exciting. But yeah, and you know, I mean, I grew up Catholic, which before Vatican II really lifted up to the point of fetishized suffering as a way to get closer to God. You know, and I used to ask when I was little, why do we have to do this stuff and that stuff and fast on this and eat fish on Fridays? I mean, I'm from New England, and fish wasn't a big, like, okay, Friday, Thursday, Tuesday, whatever. We like fish, you know. Wasn't really a hardship, but other people seem to think it was. But I mean, we're like, especially my aunt had a trick that she's like, well, it's Lent, so I got the twin lobster special. Because that's fish, right? I'm like, Marin, I don't think that's what that's about. But the explanation I got was that the suffering was intended to bring us, to remind us of the suffering of Christ. It was a ginormous guilt trip. And I also remember growing up at the tender age of like 5 or 6 and thinking, I'm a kid. I didn't do anything bad enough for somebody to have to die for me. Right. Like that's the stuff that I was taught as a small child, and trying to undo all that St. Augustine did in the way of eroticizing suffering and making it a thing that you sought out, and the flagellists and the other folks who the Opus Dei who have that crazy spiked dog collar on their leg thing that they engage in intentional suffering to bring themselves closer to their God. And that is so, I mean, if we think about that through the lens of the Holy Roman Empire, right? And the effect of that empirical empire stuff, what sort of baggage and heartburn and bad culture-y sorts of things have just dispersed through all of Western society. Between Rome and England, the colonization and the spread of that sort of theology, that sort of, for lack of a better term, crowd control, right? It's about crowd control. It's about keeping people in line, right? There's a part of me that's like, well, no wonder we're all fucked up, right? Like Western society as a whole has this, like you said, it's this cognitive dissonance, like what the fuck? And it's we struggle so hard to get beyond that, and yet for some reason our brains really want to get back and grasp at that very simple understanding of sinfulness deserves punishment. And it's huge, the cultural impact of that perverse theology and what it has done to the Western world from the time of the Apostle Paul, right? Because it wasn't Jesus that said that shit. It was Paul that said that shit. And then later it was Augustine who said that shit. And there are days when it's just, I just sit and think, dear God, how do we untangle that fucking mess? And we do what we can in our own little corner of the world, but boy, there are days it really feels overwhelming. So on that positive note, we're about out of time.
Well, we can end with nobody deserves trauma.
Yes. Yeah. Nobody deserves trauma. Nobody deserves suffering. I don't care what you've done. You don't deserve to be tortured.
Amen.
Amen.
For profit is even worse.
And next week we will talk about the practice of harm reduction that is engaging in our democracy.
Don't we know how to party, huh?
Great show, everyone.
We love you all.
Thank you all. It's so great to be back.
Good to be back.
Let's see if I can run this outro video.
Have faith in you.
Where'd it go? Why won't it let me do that? Oh, there we go.
There we
Thank
are.
you for joining
Oh my
us.
goodness.
Special thanks to those of you who give generously to this ministry. It is because of you that this ministry is possible. You can click the link in the description to give now or visit clfuu.org/give for more information. We hope you will join us next week for another episode of The VUU.